Okay, this is a quick video for you on the basic economic problem. This leads directly on from the concept of scarcity, which is a situation where there's not enough of something to go around. So, just as a quick kind of recap, economists assume that human wants are unlimited. When faced with the choice between more or less rather, consumers, most people will prefer more to less. So this is not an outrageous assumption that people have unlimited wants. To produce the things that we want, it requires factors of production: land, labour, capital, and entrepreneurship. All of those factors of production are finite, they're limited. So this gives rise to the problem of scarcity. There's not enough of these things that we want to go around to meet all of our unlimited wants. Okay, so where does this basic economic problem come in? Well, the problem of scarcity means that all societies have three economic problems to solve, and this is what we're really going to focus on today. So what are those problems, those questions that need to be solved? The first one is what to produce and in what quantities. So given the fact that our wants are unlimited, we don't have enough resources to produce everything that we would like. So all societies have got to figure out a way of deciding what types of goods and services they want to use their factors of production to produce. So for example, scarcity means that if you decide to build more luxury cars or yachts, that will mean there are fewer factors of production available to produce low-cost housing for people that are maybe homeless. If we use more resources to produce NHS healthcare, that will mean that there's fewer resources available to produce something else with. So all societies have got to decide what goods they're going to produce and in what quantities. Now, ideally, the goal is that we produce the right stuff, that we actually produce the things that match our most urgent preferences, and we get this decision right, because you could be maximizing output with your resources, but you won't be maximizing society's welfare, or you could say society's total utility, if the goods and services that you're producing aren't matching our most immediate preferences, our fashions, our tastes. Furthermore, the right output mix of the economy that would maximize our utility could change, or it will change over time, because our tastes and preferences are constantly changing. So there are various ways in which this question can be answered. In a free market society where production takes place for private profit, it's the consumer that decides what goods are going to be produced. So if we decide that we want more smartphones, the demand for smartphones goes up, the price of smartphones rises. That sends out a signal to private companies that we want more smartphones, and they'll respond to that price signal by producing more smartphones. Why? Well, not because they want to go to heaven and meet Jesus. No, it's nothing to do with altruism or anything like that. They respond to the wishes of sovereign consumers, because that's the best way for firms to make profits. On the other hand, in a free market, if you ignore the wishes of consumers and keep on producing things that you want to produce, rather than things that the consumer wants, then you'll go out of business. So the free market decides the first question of the basic economic problem via what's called consumer sovereignty. The consumer decides. Um, the the other alternative way of deciding it is the authoritarian power of the state. So the state just decides. They say, well, you're going to have this. We're going to decide the output mix. The problem with that approach is, well, twofold. First of all, do the leaders of a country really have their people's back? Do they really care about what the people want anyway, or will they just provide the stuff that they want? That's problem one. Problem two would be, even if the politicians aren't corrupt, do they actually have enough information to know what we might want? The answer is almost certainly no. So that's the first problem that has to be solved by all economies. What are we going to produce with our finite resources? Because we can't produce every single possible type of good that every single possible person might want to buy in unlimited quantities, because we don't have enough resources. So that's question one. Question two is how to produce. So we've decided what we're going to produce. We now need to decide how we're going to do it, because there's various production methods that could be used to produce a product. Let's say cars. Cars can be made in a capital intensive way or in a labour intensive way. Capital intensive basically means that you have a production line with lots of machinery, computer aided robots, so lots of machines, relatively few people. That's capital intensive. Or you could have a labour intensive method of production, which is more old fashioned, based on skilled labour. So many years ago now, I remember going to see Morgan cars being made in a handmade manner in Malvern in Worcestershire. And I've also been to BMW Mini in Oxford, who produce cars in a very capital intensive method. So all societies have got to figure out what method of production that they're going to use to produce the products that consumers want, or maybe central planners employed by the state want. That production method can change over time. So, for example, in Japan, the birth rate has been collapsing. There's a shortage of people. As a result of that, wages have been going up in Japan. So what a lot of firms have been doing in Japan is substituting capital for labour. They've been switching to a more automated method of production. Again, driven entirely by profit, firms will choose the most profitable method of production. In a planned economy run by the state, central planners just decide. They make a judgment call. In places like Soviet Russia, for political reasons, the communists were always really keen on creating full employment. That's a situation where everybody of working age has got a job. So that encouraged them to use labour-intensive methods of production to maximise the number of jobs. The problem with that, though, is that it wasn't very efficient. So they weren't really producing a lot. Although they had high levels of employment, output was relatively low. There was an issue with what economists call productivity. Output per worker was low. Okay, so that's the second question dealt with, how to produce. The final one is the question 3 is for whom. So we've decided what goods we're going to make. We've decided how we're going to make them. The last question is, which people in society are going to get a chance to consume, and which groups in society are going to have to go without? Because of course it goes back to unlimited wants, finite resources. There's never going to be enough output for everybody's to meet everybody's unlimited wants. So there is always going to be some people who get to consume more, and there's always going to be, sadly, people who won't have as much to consume. So in a free market society, this final question of for whom is determined by individual incomes and somebody's ability to pay the prices being charged for whatever it is that you might happen to buy. So for example, I might want a Ferrari. I might really want one. But will I get one? Well, in a free market society, I'll only be able to consume a Ferrari if I'm able to earn enough to pay the price needed to obtain one. So goods are rationed in a free market according to the consumer's ability to pay the prices charged. In a government-run planned economy, so socialism, fascism, same difference, it's a planned economy. The state decides which groups in society are going to have the opportunity to consume society's limited output and which groups in society are going to go without. So for example, the Nazis ran a planned economy, and what they did was that they basically, not very nice, made sure that Jews didn't really consume much of what was produced in that hideous planned economy. So basically political decisions determine your access to goods and services. If prices are set, they're not real market prices, they're just artifacts of a central planner's imagination. They don't allocate goods and services. So there you have it. In summary, the basic economic problem comes from unlimited wants, finite resources. All societies have got three big decisions to make: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom. So those are the three questions. Yeah, I hope that's been useful for you. See you next time.